Hey, it's 7 minutes past the hour, 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, coming to you live from bucolic Watertown once again, where we're going to give you some news and information today, bring you up to speed on everything that happened. See, I stayed up till almost midnight last night watching the convention, so that you don't have to. I mean, I know, I talked to some friends this morning over coffee. I said I just couldn't bring myself to watch 1 minute of it, but you still sort of need to know, what the other side is saying. So I take the hit for you. Listen, it's a selfless act is what it is. It's sort of like Joe Biden stepping aside for the good of the party, right? I take this hit for you so that you don't have to watch the darn thing.
Much appreciated, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I'm nothing if not a giver, and
that's right.
So no, seriously, and it was painful. I mean, it was really painful. I mean, compare and contrast the conventions last night. With the Republican convention, the Republican convention ran like, a German railroad. I mean, the trains pulled in on time. The trains left on time. Everything was just, right on the button. Everything was timed and run so efficiently and so effectively. And the Democrat convention was a train wreck instead of a finely oiled machine. It was just a complete wreck. They started dragging behind. Poor Joe Biden didn't get on until, on the East Coast, like it was midnight. I mean, really, it was, and his speech ended well after midnight. And so, he didn't really, they didn't treat him right at all. I don't think that it was that anything against Joe Biden. I think it was, they just don't know how to run a convention and keep things running on time. How in the world, as I said before, how in the world are you going to run a country if you can't keep your convention running on time? I mean, this is just a matter of obeying a clock. But they don't have the ability to do that. Well, we'll get into all of the convention stuff that I watched on your behalf, and you'll hear, Joe Biden being told to hit the road, Jack, and all of that. Basically, they were nice to him, but they now, please leave, go away. And he's apparently going to do just that. Who's running the country? Hell, I don't know. I really don't have a clue at this point. But I want to talk more, starting off here today, about what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are doing. Trump is in Michigan. J.D. Vance was in Wisconsin. They're out there hitting it hard. I mean, there was some talk that they wouldn't do much during the Democrat convention, that they would come out bigger right after the convention. But that's not happening. They're out there hitting these battleground states. And in fact, so are Kamala and Tim Walz. They aren't going to be at the convention. They're going to be out running around doing events while we have the convention going on in Chicago. So let's start out with Trump today in Michigan, trying to stay on the script as much as possible, talking about crime and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Since Comrade Kamala Harris took office, her administration's crime statistics show she's presided over a 43% increase in violent crime. These are all government numbers. 43% increase in violent crime. I'll bet the people behind me don't have anything like that.
He's speaking in front of a bunch of police officers.
Just gets better. It doesn't get worse. Including a 58% increase in rape, 89% increase in aggravated assault, and a 56% increase in robbery. The crime in America, the fact is out of control. I watched last night in amazement as they tried to pretend that everything was great, the crime was great, the border was great, there wasn't a problem at all, no inflation, no nothing. There has been a report that the job numbers over the last period of time were fraudulent, and I understand that because I know how the job numbers go, and if you want to be a bad person in high office, you can be a bad person, but the numbers are going to be revised that the job numbers were far less at nobody's ever seen 600,000 to 1 million people less.
Well, he's right about that. There is a story out there talking how the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, which gives a lot of the employment numbers, are expecting to issue a quote-unquote major revision to employment numbers on Wednesday. The agency is set to announce its preliminary benchmark revision to the 2024 establishment survey. Some preliminary estimates and indicators suggest the agency could announce a downward trend of around 1 million jobs between April 23 and March of 24. Well, how do you get it wrong by 1 million? I mean, you know, okay, if you're off a percentage point or two, you can, but I mean, 1 million. Downward revision of the 1 million jobs would suggest that the U.S. job market and economy are far weaker than the corporate media and Biden-Harris government has let on. Further, the revision will likely fuel additional concerns that the BLS and other agencies under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have essentially been cooking the books to the ultimate detriment of the American people. Such dramatic revisions are rare, not unprecedented. Earlier this year, the nonpartisan California Legislative Analyst Office released data showing that all of the state's reported job gains were in fact unrealized. While the state had reported a significant job gains throughout the year, the LAO reported that the early benchmarks used to estimate job numbers in the state skewed the data in too positive a direction. Listen, I've always thought these numbers looked a little suspect, and what they're trying to do here, honestly, if you monkey around with the labor numbers, what you're basically trying to do is get the Fed to take action to cut the interest rates. You would love to have, so if they're out there monkeying around with the numbers and saying, we reported this, but we were about 1 million off in the wrong direction, and so what you're doing is you're basically trying to get the Fed to take action because you would love to have a big interest rate cut just before the election, and it looks like that's what has happened. The Fed seems poised to do that in September. And maybe if they revise these numbers and they go, well, we were way wrong, maybe that won't happen. I don't know. We'll be interested to see exactly what's going to happen on Wednesday. But I'm going to tell you, I've had some suspicion for some time that these numbers looked a little too glowing, giving, what you have going on out there and what you hear from people. I mean, what you hear anecdotally from people who are out there trying to live their lives certainly doesn't seem to match what the Bureau of Labor Statistics has been putting out with regard to. So anyway, Donald Trump, Michigan, talking about jobs, talking about crime, and being relatively on message, a little subdued perhaps, but, on message. J.D. Vance was in Wisconsin, and he's nailing it to the wall. I mean, every time I hear J.D. Vance, I go, wow. This guy has got it buttoned up. He's on message. He's sharp. He's bringing the heat. And he was taking questions from the local reporters there in Wisconsin. Most of them had driven down from Milwaukee. Here's a little sample of it.
Ma'am, yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Hi, this is Stephanie Quirk with Fox 6 News in Milwaukee. Kind of going off the DNC, Vice President Kamala Harris is paying a visit to Milwaukee tonight, holding a rally. Do you have any response to that?
No response. Look, I mean, Kamala Harris is going to run the campaign that she runs. I would say that I wish that she would do what I'm doing right now, which is talk to the media and actually answer some tough questions. I mean, if you think what I'm doing here right now, what am I asking? The question I'm asking is for the fine people gathered to vote for me to be their vice president of the United States. What an awesome responsibility and what an incredible thing that I'm asking them to do. Now, Kamala Harris is going around asking people to be their president of the United States, but she won't answer a single tough question, and she won't interact with the American people unless there's a teleprompter standing between them and her. And I think that's crazy. And I think that what the media has got to start doing is it's got to start saying, look, if Kamala Harris is not going to stand and answer some tough questions, we're going to stop giving her this fake fawning coverage, demand that she do what any president has had to do, which is answer some tough questions. But look, her argument, I can't get over this, because you watch her rallies, and Kamala's argument is something that I could not stay with a straight face. She stands there and says on day one, she's going to tackle the housing affordability crisis in our country. On day one, she's going to tackle the grocery affordability crisis in our country, and they are crises. Well, Kamala, day one was 3.5 years ago. You've been the vice president for 3.5 years. What the hell have you been doing for all that time? So for the people in Milwaukee who are going to go to her rally or going to listen to what she says, I just asked them, if she has such good ideas for how to bring down the cost of food and groceries and housing, why doesn't she do it now? She's the vice president. Not talk about what she's going to do in 6 months. Do it now, because she's got the power right now.
I just said pretty strong. Here's another question of J.D. Vance about how are you prepping for the upcoming debate with Tim Walz?
I'd like to know how you are prepping for a debate with Tim Walz, who has described himself as a bad debater. Who's helping you, and how are you prepping?
Well, I found a good friend from back home who embellishes and lies a lot, and I'm having him stand in for Tim Walz. That's what we're doing during our debate. But look, what all kidding aside, what we're going to do is we're going to focus a lot on policy, right? The way that I'm trying to prepare is to try to make sure that we're prepared to answer the American people's questions on how we're going to make their lives better, how we're going to make their communities safer, how we're going to bring back prosperity and low prices to the American economy.
Well, I mean, he turned that one into it. He shows a little humor. He shows, and then he turns back into an actual answer to the question. And I'm really, I got to tell you that there's nobody out there who is doing it as well as J.D. Vance is doing it right now. Kamala's not that good. Walz is not that good. Trump, has his moments, but he's not at J.D. Vance's level. J.D. Vance is crushing it. So, all this talk about, J.D. Vance, maybe he wasn't the best choice. He's killing it. He's crushing it out there. And he's really doing exactly what needs to be done. Last night in the Democrat convention, the governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshears, spoke, and he earlier did an interview with Mika Brzezinski over at Morning Joe, and he went after J.D. Vance. And it was sort of nasty and sort of ugly there at the end.
I mean, think about what some people have had to go through because of these laws. J.D. Vance calls pregnancy resulting from rape inconvenient. Like, inconvenience is traffic. Make him go through this.
Yeah, well, J.D. Vance blasted Beshears, saying, "What the hell is this? Why is Andy Beshears wishing that a member of my family would get raped?" It was that thing at the end where he says, he should go through some of this. Really? You wish that on somebody? And J.D. Vance was saying, why would he want a member of my family to get raped? What a disgusting person. So, he was speaking last night, and I was sort of surprised that the Kentucky governor, a Democrat in a largely Republican state, would make his speech largely about the issue of abortion, but he did, and it was, I don't know, it was at times just hard to listen to. I'll give you more about what happened last night, and I'll try to, give you the details of how it all goes, so you don't have to actually suffer like I did. It's a small thing that I do for you, but that's me. I'm a giver, trying to help you out. What a guy. Okay, it's 21 past the hour of 3:00.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a Guaranteed Offer and start packing.
More protests expected outside the DNC in Chicago tonight. The final report on the deadliest mass shooting in the state of Maine's history has been released with some surprising results and a new U.S. birth rate report that's interesting. We'll be having all of that for you at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 25 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. I am your friend and radio buddy, and I'm glad that you're with us on this very, very lovely Tuesday. You know, it's only 79 degrees outside here. It is the 20th day of August, and it's just, I mean, it's delightful outside.
I don't know where it came from, but I wish it would stick around.
Yeah, it was a cold air mass, and as you know, when I used to do weather for a short period of time at one point in my career, I was a TV weatherman. I don't tell people that very often, but I was a TV weatherman, and I always wanted to make sure that I was very distinct and slowed down when I said cold air mass. Because if you get those mixed up, it talks about a part of the mare,
a horse's rear end.
Horse's rear end. You shouldn't talk about on TV, and I mean it can happen so easily. And I struggle with twisting or changing up words like that sometimes. Anyway, so it's going to be a cold air mass coming down from Canada. You always make sure you're very careful about that. Hey, you know what? Last night, supermoon. Did you get up and look at the supermoon last night, Chris?
I forgot again.
Yeah, it was something. And again, it came up a little later than the night before. And so I was sitting there, watching TV, watching the convention, and I looked out the window to the left, and there it was coming up over the tree line. And I got up and went out. We went out and looked. It was very orangey. And very big and bright. It was beautiful, beautiful moon.
Hey, I missed it.
Yeah, well, we got 3 more supermoons to come, and I think the October supermoon is supposed to be the superest of the supery moons.
Okay,
the superest.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's a word.
I'll mark it down.
Yeah. Right now, we got our state fair going on out there at the fairgrounds in Wilson County, Lebanon. It's the Lebanon County Fair, which is also serving at writ large the state fair, and it's been that way for a couple of years. And it's a good fair. And I just saw this story on Channel 5, and I just ripped this off. I want to apologize. I didn't call and ask, and I'm sure they don't mind. One of their reporters went out there and did a story on on the husband calling contest.
Husband calling. Okay.
Wives stand up on stage and call their husbands. And it is ear piercing.
This is the husband calling contest.
Now this is the winners right here. They came down and they came down from Calgary. They were apparently the husband was a truck driver. He was down here. The wife came down, and they decided, wait, we got to go to the county fair. We got to be in America. We got to do a Southern fair, and so they decided to go to the Wilson County Fair. And she got talked into going up on stage, and she won the thing by calling her husband Gene. Yeah.
I love it.
You got 30 old bucks.
Yeah, and Canadian, that's like 45.
Wow. Come on. I couldn't be prouder. Hey?
Aww,
Hey?
We love you.
Yeah, and speaking, by the way, of Canadians, I read a story here today. I just came back from a vacation in Canada, and the people up in Calgary were really, really nice. Lovely. Everything you hear about Canadians being super nice, it's really true. They were really lovely folks. And one of the things that I became introduced to when I was in Canada was Johnny Horton's coffee.
Oh, no, Tim Horton.
Tim, I'm sorry. Why don't Johnny Horton was the singer? Tim Horton.
Yeah.
Tim Horton.
North.
That's right. North to Alaska. Well, I was close. It was Tim Horton, and you get great coffee and wonderful donuts.
Yeah.
I mean, except we can never talk again about the apple fritter.
No, don't mention
that. I accidentally ate and I wasn't supposed to. I still have not been forgiven for the unfortunate fritter incident that occurred on vacation. But
Brian, you know there's a Tim Hortons coming to Nashville.
You beat me to it. That's just when I was about to turn the corner and say,
great.
And so if you've ever been to a Tim Hortons, there's got to be a one and maybe more in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Stole my thunder, man.
I'm sorry. I know it's like speak only when spoken to. I'm sorry.
I know. No, that's not right. No, you're welcome to jump anytime. But I was turning that corner, man. I was headed that direction. It just takes me a while. And now that I've spent too much time, I'm throwing to the news late. So I 2 times today already, Jay. I'm on your list. It's time for the news at 31 minutes past the hour.
Good afternoon, 3:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Boy, have we got a nice, pretty day. Sunny and 81 degrees. The humidity not that bad. The forecast and a traffic report, they're both coming up. Chicago police preparing for another night of protests related to the Democratic National Convention. ABC's Jim Ryan says the new details have emerged about Monday's demonstrations.
As many as 3,500 protesters, mainly pro-Palestinian demonstrators, took part in a rally and march near the United Center. A small group splintered off and breached a perimeter fence surrounding the venue. Police arrived and pepper spray was used, but Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling insists
protesters use it against our officers.
Snelling says 13 people were arrested on charges ranging from criminal trespass to aggravated battery of police officers.
We now move to the state of Maine, where an independent commission releasing its final report surrounding the deadliest mass shooting in that state's history. Here's Brian Clark.
The commission found shortcomings from the Army Reserve in failing to provide Robert Card care before last October's rampage, but also flagged local law enforcement, which Chair Dan Wathen said knew about Card's threatening and aggressive behavior and had probable cause to take him into protective custody under Maine's yellow flag law.
And to initiate a petition to confiscate any firearms he possessed or over which he had control.
The commission said Card is solely responsible for the rampage that left 18 dead.
And with an interesting study on the country's birth rate, let's get that now from ABC's Sherry Preston.
The CDC says there were just under 3.6 million babies born last year compared to just over 3.6 million in both 2021 and 22. It's a 2% drop, but researchers don't know exactly why. They speculate it could be more people going back to work after being at home during the pandemic. According to the Pew Charitable Trust, birth rates have been on a steady decline since the recession of 2007 and 8.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, have you ever noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you it'll be ready at 4 p.m. and it's not. People really get tired of that kind of stuff. And if you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair shops, why don't you come to Eurofix? Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's supposed to be ready, so you don't have to stand around waiting. Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer without dealer pricing. That's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of a dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of money. Why would you want to pay for that? At Eurofix, reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Make sure you call ahead because loaner cars are very, very popular. If you're tired of unreliable repair shops, come to where it is reliable. Eurofix, family owned for some 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Well, they told Joe Biden to hit the road last night. I mean, it was his farewell speech before a group of Democrats gathered there in Chicago for the big convention. And, they sort of treated him pretty poorly. I mean, it was a pretty shabby treatment of the man who is the current president of the United States. It would seem that, if you had a guy who was president of the United States, he was, the standard bearer of your party at the last election cycle and has been serving in office for 3.5 years. Seems like you'd, treat him sort of decently on the way out the door, but they did not. I mean, it was just the shabbiest treatment you could ever expect. It was like, thank you. Now get the hell out of our way, would you please? I mean, if you did watch last night, and I'm sorry you had to put up with all that, his speech, which was supposed to be the big speech of the evening, was pushed way, way late. Now, Some are saying it was, on purpose, that they pushed it late. They dragged their feet throughout the evening so that he would be past prime time because he's yesterday's news and nobody wants to be associated with him now. He is a failed president and they didn't want that failure to, be there. But I don't get that. I think that the Democrats just actually, they don't know how to run a convention, and they were dragged, and they always do. The Democrat conventions that I've been to are always events that are way, way, way behind schedule because they have no discipline, and they put people up there on the podium, and they tell them, you've got about 5 minutes, and they'll go 15. And there's there's nobody out there actually cracking the whip to make them stay on time. Here it is. From Newsweek, Joe Biden's delayed DNC speech past prime time raises questions. Joe Biden's historic and emotional farewell speech was bumped from primetime TV, prompting disbelief and anger and sparking various theories from viewers. The keynote address in which the elderly president officially passed the baton to Kamala Harris and wound up a 50-plus year career in politics was delivered in the middle of the night. It began almost 10:30 p.m. local time, and that was Central Time in Chicago. So that was 11:30 East Coast time for people on the East Coast who wanted to watch the thing. Biden was supposed to lead the Democrats to the polls in November's election. It was supposed to be his whole convention, quite frankly. And so they treated him pretty badly. By the time he got done, it was already past midnight on the East Coast and well past most people's bedtime in the Central Time Zone. So maybe the people in the Mountain Time Zone, maybe the people in the Pacific Time Zone got to see it, but a lot of people went to bed and said, I'm not staying up for this. Here is how he closed out.
America, I gave my best to you. I've made a lot of mistakes in my career. But I gave my best to you. For 50 years, like many of you, I've given my heart and soul to our nation. And I've been blessed a million times in return.
Yeah, $27 million, quite frankly.
The support of the American people. I've either been too young to be in the Senate because I wasn't 30 yet, and too old to stay as president. But I hope you know how grateful I am to all of you. I can honestly say, and I mean this from the bottom, give you my word as a Biden, I can honestly say I'm more optimistic about the future than I was when I was elected as a 29-year-old United States Senator. I mean it. Folks, we just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's nothing we cannot do when we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
Bye-bye, Joe. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, all right? He gets on his aircraft, Air Force One, goes to California. Going to take a vacation because it's been so busy lately. So, really, they really treated him poorly. They really did. They also treated sweet baby James pretty poorly as well. James Taylor was scheduled to perform, You've Got a Friend, which apparently I think is, I've heard is one of Joe Biden's favorite songs. So, they got James Taylor all queued up to come out there before Joe Biden and sing You Got a Friend, but they got so far behind, and it was getting to be a little bit embarrassing how far behind they were, that they had to go to James Taylor and cut him from the show.
Wonder how he took it. I wouldn't have been happy.
No, I don't think. I think at the point he says, "You think you got a friend? No, you don't have a friend." It was bad. Here's how that nice Brett Baer over at Fox News summed up his speech.
President Joe Biden, the 46th President of the United States, wiping a tear away after his daughter's introduction with an extended ovation when he took the stage with cheers of "Thank you, Joe," from this crowd. Well past prime time, past midnight on the East Coast. He was in this State of the Union speech cadence. And really hitting sort of a yelling tone for a lot of the speech. It came off as almost angry, not full of joy, but he was hitting themes that he's hit before. January 6th, fight for democracy, the threat to democracy, and talking about Charlottesville, how he started his campaign. He obviously passed the torch towards the end of this speech. It took him a long time to get to that passing of the torch, but on the stage now, the new nominee, and it's hard to believe, Martha, that it was just a short time ago that this was going to be his convention.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a nice summation. It was his swan song, or I like to call it his duck song, because he was a very angry duck. Lame duck, that is. Yeah, bitter. But he did go ahead and pass the torch, as you heard Brett Baer say there, touting his legacy most of the speech, and then spoke about his vice president in a glowing term. And she walked out at the end in a gray pantsuit and embraced him. If you were a lip reader, you might have picked up that apparently she said, "I love you so much, Joe Biden." The president defended his economic record, writes the Wall Street Journal, saying he worked with Harris to rebuild the U.S. economy. This is rebuilt following the COVID-19 pandemic through a host of legislative measures. He said they had achieved an extraordinary 4 years of progress. Well, if that's true, then why do people feel like that they're really struggling? If it's all better now, I mean, to hear them talk about it, it was all roses, sunshine, lollipops, the whole 9 yards, nothing but sunshine and candy. What do you call it? The candy that's
cotton candy.
Cotton candy. That's what. Got it. If you go down the path of saying a word and you can't remember, you might as well just dump it. Cotton candy. Everything was just sweet as cotton candy. Biden's withdrawal from the top of the ticket in July meant the president spoke on the convention's opening night, not in prime time, on Thursday night, and he used the event to affirm Harris and make the case for his agenda. Introduced by his daughter, Ashley Biden. This is the Ashley Biden who wrote in her diary that she used to shower naked with Dad, and that it was, in her estimation, probably inappropriate. But he was touched by the things that she said. Biden's announcement and swift endorsement of Harris put an abrupt end to weeks of party infighting over whether the 81-year-old leader should step aside following his disastrous debate performance against Trump. The party has rallied behind Harris, and Biden received a warm outpouring of delegates, many of whom are relieved that the contest now looks more competitive than it did before Biden made his decision. A lot of people stood up to speak for him. There was Hillary, who spoke and is still shrill. Representative James Clyburn, who is very tight with Biden and actually helped him seize control of the 2020 Democrat nomination. Had it not been for Representative James Clyburn in South Carolina, he would not probably have become president. And so there you have it. The whole big shebang was a lead up to saying goodbye to Joe. Now, tonight, it's going to be Michelle Obama and Barack Obama are going to be sort of like the big speakers. I just want to point out the nominee of the party is not Michelle Obama. Not that I want to gloat over being right about all this time, but I was right about it all along. So again, another dog and pony show tonight, and again, I will commit to watching tonight, so you don't have to be burdened by that. Find yourself a good movie on Netflix, or I don't know, do something else.
Go stare at the moon.
Well, it'll still be pretty full tonight. It'll still be pretty nice. Sit out on the deck. It's a beautiful night to sit on the deck. Maybe, cook a little something on the Barbie. But don't worry about having to watch it, because I'll bring you all the important stuff that you need to know. And on that point, it is 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Negotiations continuing today in hopes of a Gaza ceasefire deal. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, as you can imagine, they are out campaigning, and both are in swing states today. And a Tennessee correctional facility is under investigation by the DOJ. We'll have those stories coming up at 4 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 56 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Take a look at the markets. We had 8 days in a row where everything was in the green and had been looking pretty good, but a little rebound, the sort of a pause after the rebound. Dow Jones Industrials down 61 points, S&P down 11, NASDAQ down 59. Now, none of those numbers are big, deep losses, but still technically in the red. What's going on? John Maxon maybe has some answers for us over at Beacon Capital Management. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, it did. The NASDAQ and the S&P that stopped its 8-day winning streak, which is the longest one of 2024. Not a lot of real economic data today, but there was a couple of Fed speakers that came out, and the market is in wide anticipation of the Fed coming out in September and lowering rates. A couple of Fed speakers came out today and really expressed caution about the risk of upside inflation. So that's not really what the market wanted to hear. Really, tomorrow, we're going to get a report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that actually may knock down the amount of jobs growth year over year. So that's an important report to pay attention to. And then everyone's attention will turn to Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole on Friday to give us an indication on rate cycle and where we're headed. So that's what the market's really looking at right now.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Listen, find out about all the things that John Maxon and the other good people over at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement. Simply go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It is 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Hey, listen, the folks over at United Structural Systems, you know who they are. They've been serving Middle Tennessee and Southern and Western Kentucky. You know the saying, at USS, they guarantee their best. Well, they've got some specials going on right now. And if you've got some real concerns about something at your house, foundation issues, maybe a basement or crawl space that is too wet and needs to be waterproofed. Maybe you got some mold down in your crawl space. Maybe you've got concrete that has sunk or is slanted or is not quite level and plumb like it used to be. Well, they got a deal right now. It's a back-to-school offer, 10% off any job over $2,500. You could save a lot of money here, right? And they do have financing, no payment, no interest for 1 year with approved credit. This is not to be combined with any other coupon or previously discounted quotes, however. The thing I love about USS is that the inspections are absolutely free. Doesn't cost you a penny to come out and take a look at what you got going on. They will give you their best advice. There's no high pressure here. If you decide to go forward, though, you don't pay a penny until the job is done and you are completely satisfied. So listen, here's the number you need to call, 615-488-7855. Learn more by going to their website, USSTN.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good afternoon. It is 1 minute past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Sunshine, 81 degrees, a forecast and a traffic report are upcoming. Time is of the essence. That's the word from the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, wrapping up his trip to the Middle East today. As the Secretary stepped onto his plane in Qatar, he told reporters on the tarmac that the U.S. wants to see a ceasefire and hostage deal done as soon as possible.
Our message is simple, it's clear, and it's urgent. We need to get the ceasefire and hostage agreement over the finish line, and we need to do it now.
Now, as the 24 campaign rolls along, former President Trump speaking at the Livingston County Sheriff's Office in Howell, Michigan today. Of course, it's the second day of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Trump pushing his record on crime while he was in office and attacking the statements made at the DNC about the current administration's record on crime and other things.
Over the past 4 years, the Marxist left has waged a vicious war on law enforcement in our country. They've taken away the dignity and the spirit and the life of some of these police officers, and that's why you see it. The crime is so out of control in our country.
Meanwhile, the Vice President, Kamala Harris, she's not in Chicago at the DNC. She is in Wisconsin. Here's ABC's Karen Travers with the latest.
In an unusual move, Vice President Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, will be on the campaign trail tonight during the primetime programming at the DNC. Harris and Walz will hold a rally in Milwaukee at the same arena where former President Donald Trump accepted the Republican nomination just a month ago. A campaign official tells ABC they planned this because they believe they're still the underdogs in this race, and they need to get out on the trail and win over voters, meeting them where they are, like Battleground, Wisconsin.
Today, the Department of Justice announcing a civil rights investigation into conditions at Trousdale Turner Correctional Center, which is run by the private company CoreCivic. It's the largest correctional facility in Tennessee. The DOJ says their department has found significant justification to open the investigation, including state audits detailing understaffing and safety concerns that have allegedly gone on for quite some time. Leaders say the investigation will dig deeper into whether Tennessee protects the inmates from harm, including violence and even sexual abuse. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, good afternoon. It's 4:07, second hour of the drive now underway. Glad you're with us here on this really beautiful Tuesday. I mean, you just couldn't ask for nicer weather. It'll be in the middle of August, 20 days into August, and we got temperatures that aren't even, I don't think it even cracked 80 today.
I think we're at 82 right now downtown.
Really?
Yep.
All right. Well, my thermometer says 77. So,
ooh, that's even nicer.
We have a discrepancy between the two, but but it says, hey, it's 78 degrees, but it feels like it's 78 degrees.
Can't get any better than that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, anyway, one way or the other, 82 ain't shabby either, so we'll take it. Nice weather. Listen, we want to do our 2024 update because, there's so much going on. We're going to have to break it up into two different segments. We'll do one and then this hour and another in the next hour. We'll just a lot of stuff to absorb, and we want to make sure that we're on top of all of it. Tonight is night number 2 of the big DNC convention. One of the things that apparently was going on last night, another example of how the Democrats can't run a convention. I don't know how we expect them to run our country if they can't run their convention. People were having a hell of a time getting into the convention hall. There were lines backed up, and that's why in the early going there were so many empty seats, because people couldn't get into the convention hall. And even the TV people were talking about how difficult it was to get into the convention hall. I don't know what that's all about, but maybe it has something to do with tightened security. I think they really were concerned that some of the protesters were going to somehow make their way into the hall. You've got a lot of Palestinian people who support the Palestinian cause out there protesting, but they're some distance away, but they would love to get into the hall and make a ruckus. And so far they have not done that, but maybe that's what was taking so long, that they were going, you're not coming in here with that sign. You're not coming in here with that in your bag. No, I'm sorry. So I don't know, but one way or the other, it was very, very slow. Tonight, Michelle Obama and Barack Obama, Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, and Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, along with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. So there you have that. That's the lineup tonight. And again, I'll stay up and watch it so you don't have to. Because, I know how painful that will be. Barack Obama has tonight's keynote address. I think Bill Clinton speaks on Thursday. I don't know what they're doing tomorrow, one way or the other. It's that's the way it's lining up so far. But there's a lot of stuff out there that has nothing to do with the convention that could be potentially a big impact on the coming election. So let's move away from the convention hall for a little bit. Harris proposes raising the corporate tax rate to 28%. This story broke late yesterday, and I want to make sure that we hit it again for people who may have missed it. Vice President Kamala Harris is calling for raising the corporate tax rate to 28%, her first major proposal to raise revenues and finance expensive plans that she wants to pursue as president. This according to CNBC. Harris campaign spokesman James Singer told NBC News that she would push for a 28% corporate tax rate, calling it a fiscally responsible way to put money back in the pockets of working people and ensure that billionaires and big corporations pay their fair share. Well, what is a fair share? Because when you're talking about raising corporate rates by about 20, I think it's 27%, up to 28%. In other words, I think they're about 25 now, and they want to go to 28. That's pretty heavy. It makes us a less competitive nation business-wise. And I guarantee you, if you raise the corporate tax rate so that corporations have to pay more, they will not have money to pay the people who work for them, and they won't have as much money to innovate and to grow and to prosper. And that's what you want. You want corporations that are in a business environment where they pay their taxes, but it's not such an onerous burden that they can't continue to grow and expand and provide jobs, etc. It will be a real killer. I mean, on the other hand, it is the antithesis of what you want to do if you want to get the economy humming again. And in addition to this, Kamala Harris has been asked, questions about, well, how are you going to pay for everything? Well, here's one way she's going to pay for it. She's going to tax the corporations to death. And then the other thing she said is, well, don't worry about how much everything costs because we'll get it back. There'll be a return on investment. We'll make these investments in America and it'll work out fine because, we'll get a return on our investment. Somebody told her to say return on investment a lot. But she, again, it indicates she doesn't have even a rudimentary understanding of how, business works, how the economy works. It's just she has these grandiose ideas, these socialistic ideas that she wants to do, and she's got to find some way to pay for it. But I'm going to tell you that it will be at your detriment. The economy will not surge if you raise the corporate tax rate to 28%. The economy will not surge if you spend money like a drunken sailor on feel-good projects that don't have any return on investment and just tell everybody, don't worry, it'll be okay. We'll get a return on investment. You'll see, it'll be fine. Don't even worry your little pretty little heads about it. We want to give everything to everybody unless you're a corporation. That's her whole strategy. Word came out today that Kamala Harris has informed folks that she will not be participating in the Fox News debate on September 4th. And I, this I'm shocked, stunned, and amazed. So she said she'll do one more debate, and I think since CBS it got the. CBS got the vice presidential debate, and then I guess it was ABC that got the first debate on September 10th. Fox had suggested they do one on the 4th, and then NBC was in there somewhere, making a bid. So if there's going to be two debates, one of them will not be on Fox News, apparently. And, and honestly, if you can't sit in front of, those nice people, Brett Baer and Martha McCallum, and probably would be asking the questions at the debate. If you can't stand before them and answer a few, hardball questions, are you really qualified to be the president of the United States? I mean, honestly, if you can't face down Brett Baer, how are you going to face down Vladimir Putin? How are you going to face down President Xi? I mean, honestly, she's scared to death that she's going to be asked a hard question. What she wants to go is she wants to do a debate in a place where the questions will be safe. There won't be any hard questions because, she doesn't do well when she doesn't have a teleprompter. Here's what Trump said. Comrade Kamala Harris, that's a good nickname, has just informed us that she will not do the Fox News debate on September 4th. I'm not surprised by this development because I feel she knows it will be difficult at best for her to defend her record-setting flip-flopping on absolutely everything she once believed in, including her statements that there will be no fracking in Pennsylvania and her horrible performance on the border. Our borders are where millions of criminals and people from mental institutions and terrorists have been allowed to pour into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. It's called, and she loves it, an open border. So rather than do a debate on September 4th, Trump has agreed to do a tele-town hall, which will be hosted by Sean Hannity for Fox on that date. And it will take place in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Details to follow. Trump will do a town hall event in Pennsylvania, and you can be absolutely assured that fracking will be a topic of conversation. So there we go. And remember, it was not long ago that Kamala Harris was making noise about, well, I'm ready to debate. How come Donald Trump's not ready to debate? Well, sit down on Fox News and have a debate, and look, if Donald Trump can walk in and have a debate on ABC News, wasn't it ABC? It was ABC News, wasn't it? Yeah, and can do all that, and it was even what's his name, Stephanopoulos, right? Yeah. So I mean, if you can do that, then
it was CNN. It was CNN.
Was it CNN?
Yeah.
That's right. It was
Yeah.
Jake Tapper. I'm
Tapper.
sorry,
Yeah.
but same thing. Jake Tapper. If you can go up on CNN, that's right, CNN. Excuse me. It's and the ABC will not be Stephanopoulos. That was the big news. All right. So anyway, if you can go on CNN and answer, like Joe Biden did, then why can't you go on with Fox News? I don't understand why you can't do it. Harris is getting 84% positive coverage. 84% positive coverage. Television networks have provided Vice President Kamala Harris with 84% positive coverage since she joined the presidential race, a Media Research Center study found on Monday, while they produced 89% negative coverage for former President Donald Trump. It's not even close to being fair out there. From 71 to 84% of registered Democrats and independents who voted for Joe Biden in 2020 are mostly in the dark about many of Harris's controversial and radical positions. The exact percentage depended on which issues the pollsters were asked about, according to a recent survey. The establishment media mostly failed to report on Harris's radical record as a U.S. senator, but spent more time speaking about Harris than Trump, the survey also found. For 29 days, media members failed to ask Harris questions about her Soviet-style policies during an unscripted press conference, underscoring the media's bias. The study reported that since Joe Biden exited the 2024 presidential race 4 weeks ago, the liberal networks have delivered an unprecedented boost for positive publicity to his successor in the race, Vice President Kamala Harris. Not only has Harris received 66% more airtime than former President Donald Trump, but the spin of Harris's coverage has been more positive, 84%, than any other major party nominee, even as Trump's coverage has been nearly entirely hostile, 89% negative. It is true. I mean, everybody quibbles with these numbers, but I mean, honestly, if you watch it and you put a clock on it, which is what the Media Research Center does, they listen to each interview, they grade it on, well, was it positive? Was it negative? Was it really positive? Was it really negative? And how much time you put a clock on it, you're going to find out that Kamala Harris is getting a lot of contributions in kind, but from the mainstream media. No front runners in the swing states as it stands right now. The numbers, I'm not going to bore you with a lot of numbers. Not a whole lot of numbers out today, but the numbers continue to be very tight. And I think this story has it right from real clear polling. In the swing states right now, there is no clear front runner. In other words, it is TC, too close, too call. And I think maybe these numbers, quite frankly, are going to remain tight for some time until after the convention. And then I'm hoping after the debate, there'll be a break. Somebody will break loose. I'm hoping that it's Trump. More in a moment. Right now, 21 past the hour.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, hitting back hard over claims made by Democrats at the DNC. We'll have that story as well as today's money news coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So got a little bit more about those numbers. No real leader in the battleground states. It's sort of, really tightened up. Nobody that's outside the margin of errors really in any of these races. So that's a thing. But a political scientist from Switzerland says that voters lie to pollsters, and that may be what's responsible for Harris's poll surge. From redstate.com. The Swiss political scientist who has studied the unique dynamics of why incumbents win and lose told Red State the polling shift toward Vice President Kamala Harris in the president's campaign and away from former President Donald Trump are highly suspect. I would not be surprised if some voters would be lying to pollsters right now, said Dr. Louis Perron, who earned his doctorate at the University of Zurich. Perron, the author of Beat the Incumbent, Proven Strategies and Tactics to Win Election, said it's natural for voters to present themselves as socially or morally acceptable. There is currently quite a media hype about Kamala in the mainstream media, so some voters may not want to admit that they won't vote for her, he said. In recent polls, she got more than 40% among white voters. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'll believe it when I see it in November. This is one reason why polls in both the United Kingdom and United States fail to capture the true support for conservative candidates, observed the political scientist who went to the University of Geneva for his undergraduate degree. There is a common pattern here with the shy Tory voter or the shy Trump voter. There's a difference between public opinion, what people think, and the published opinion, what is the published in the media. Some people are hesitant to speak out against the published opinion. In other words, some people may not want to admit that they're voting for Trump, and some people may be saying, yeah, and, I can't say that I'm not going to, among my peers, I have to say I'm going to vote for Kamala, but ultimately at the last moment, perhaps they will not. I found this story to be of some concern. Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign has compiled a massive legal team in anticipation of a close election that could include certification fights and accusations of voter fraud. A senior legal team will oversee hundreds of lawyers and thousands of volunteers in a sprawling operation for the Harris-Walz campaign, the New York Times reports. Harris advisors claim the legal team I'm going to say this again. Harris advisors claim the legal team is about 10 times the size of President Biden's 2020 operation. Among the lawyers hired is Mark Elias, who played a key role in the Russia collusion hoax, which sought to undermine the results of the 2016 presidential election, according to Breitbart. Elias was behind the hire of Fusion GPS, which employed the author of the discredited Steele dossier. Bob Bauer, who served as a longtime personal counsel to Biden, and Dana Remus, general counsel to the 2020 Biden campaign, will head the Harris-Walz legal team. Top lawyers at 3 prominent law firms will handle litigation and deploy a local counsel to 8 battleground states and 4 other states of interest. Right now, Real Clear Politics says there are 9 battleground states. So it depends on how you count them, but still, nonetheless, that is a lot of people to be sending out to do legal work, after the election. Now, we've got a pretty robust, they claim, a pretty robust group of volunteers that will be on hand, poll workers who will be watching, legal teams that will be dispatched. But, look, these things, I am certain of one thing. The election is probably not going to be decided on election night. There's going to be lingering vote tallies in some of these battleground states, and it's going to go either very, very, very late into the night on election night into the next morning, or it's going to be one of these things where challenges are thrown down, and it could be like Florida and hanging chads all over again, except we won't have hanging chads. We'll have questions about electronic voting, hither, thither, and yon. And it's going to be it may well be decided by who's got the better legal team, quite frankly. I'm afraid it's not going to be a decisive victory for either side if these numbers are in any way correct. So I hope we've got a good legal team going on our side, because I know the Democrats will throw a lot of legal talent at whatever they've got going. 30 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock.
Good afternoon. It's 4:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny, 81 degrees. A forecast and a traffic report are upcoming. Former President Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, hitting Democrats on crime and public safety issues as part of he and Mr. Trump's week of what they would call counter-programming during this week's DNC. ABC's M. Yen. She has the latest from Washington.
Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance in Kenosha, Wisconsin, blaming Democrats for the high crime rate in Chicago, where the DNC is happening. The senator outlined measures such as deporting illegal aliens and supporting the death penalty for drug dealers. Vance also highlighted the economy trying to appeal to union voters, which have largely leaned towards President Biden.
They're going to be able to buy cars that are made in America with American workers doing the jobs. And that is why I think we're going to win the majority of union and non-union workers in this country.
M. Wynn, ABC News.
Now we turn to today's closing money news with Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks fell in a Tuesday turnaround. The Dow snapped a 6-day winning streak, closing down 62 points. The S&P lost 11, and the Nasdaq gave up 60, both breaking 8-day winning streaks. Federal Reserve officials have been saying that they're more confident that we've seen the worst of inflation and that rate cuts could be coming. Chair Jerome Powell could shed some light on that in a high-profile speech this coming Friday at the central bank's annual conference in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Thousands of hospitality workers in Las Vegas have reached a tentative contract agreement with 2 major resorts on the Strip. The Culinary Workers Union deal with the Venetian and the Palazzo hotels and casinos is a historic first for employees, and it still must be approved by the rank and file. The terms have not been released, but recent deals for other workers at other Strip casinos included 32% pay raises over 5 years.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
You know, as much as we'd like it to be true, there's no real, pill or spinal cream or anything like that can actually solve your back pain. And what is back pain? Well, it's basically pressure on your nerves. And if you have pressure on your nerves, there's really only a couple of choices. One is to undergo surgery. The other is non-invasive, non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. That's where I go, at least. And I'm telling you, I'm glad that I did. I have problems in my neck and my lower back from some accidents that I had when I was much younger, and they really have been able to help me. Their state-of-the-art facilities offer the latest and high-tech equipment and cutting-edge non-surgical procedures. Now, getting better is important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, so they are offering half off spinal decompression treatment and half off the KT knee machine, which is like spinal decompression, but it's aimed for the knee. Now, if you are a new patient, listen to this. You get an exam, an x-ray if you need one. You'll have a consultation. They'll come up with a plan for treatment, and you'll get your first treatment. And all of that is only $23. Then after that, remember, half off of the non-surgical spinal decompression. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
It's 38 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on this Tuesday, the 20th day of August. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and you're listening to The Drive on a beautiful, just gorgeous day. Temperatures, right up around 80, 81, 82, I guess. Right now I've got 78. What do you got there on your...
Showing 83 now.
I don't know why we have such a difference now. I'm bringing my numbers coming from International Airport.
And see, I see 81 if I look here. That's coming from, they just changed to 80. That's the airport as well.
I don't know.
Yeah. Lower 80s anyway.
I don't know why there's always a difference, but I'm looking at the weather bug.
Well, got to trust the weather bug.
Come on. one way or the other, really beautiful day. So, if this is one of those things, we still got a lot of light early, in the early evening. You can get some stuff done. I think I might have to mow tonight when I get off. So, enjoy the really pleasant weather. RFK Jr. Now, I'm not a big fan. I know some people like him because of some positions he held, but I think as you look at him as a candidate, you have to really worry, about where he is. And I think a lot of his positions, for me, were simply too liberal. I just couldn't accept him as a viable candidate. But one way or the other, he will be on the Tennessee ballot. This is from the Tennessee Star. Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his running mate have officially gained ballot access in Tennessee for the upcoming November 5th general election, the Tennessee Secretary of State's office has said. Kennedy's campaign submitted 1,025 signatures. You got to have at least 250 to make the ballot. They have to be registered voters in the state, so you got to make sure you got more than a few over what you need. On August 8th, the Tennessee Coordinator of Elections, Mark Goen, sent a letter to Kennedy confirming the verification of his campaign's petition containing the submitted signatures to gain ballot access for the general election. So there you have that. So far, the campaign has collected enough signatures for ballot access in 6 states: Alabama, Florida, Massachusetts, Montana, New Hampshire, and North Dakota. That's, there's a lot more than 6 states. I don't know if he's going to get on or not, but this may be what really happens. You ready? Robert F. Kennedy might suspend his independent presidential campaign and endorse former President Donald Trump. Kennedy's running mate, Nicole Shanahan, said in an interview Tuesday. This is according to CNBC. Shanahan, an attorney and entrepreneur, said in an interview with the podcast Impact Theory that the campaign is considering whether to join forces with the Trump campaign or stay in the race and attempt to gain more than 5% of the popular vote in the general election, which would help them to establish themselves as a third party. There's 2 options that we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming a new party, but we run the risk of a Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, says Shanahan, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and we walk away from that and explain to our base why we're making this decision, she added, noting it's not an easy decision. Contacted by CNBC for comment, Kennedy's campaign referred to a post on X from Kennedy on Tuesday, and he said the following: "As always, I'm willing to talk with leaders of any political party to further the goals I have served for 40 years in my career and in this campaign. These are reversing chronic disease epidemics, ending the war machine, cleaning corporate influence out of government and toxic pollution out of the environment, protecting freedom of speech, and ending politicization of enforcement agencies." So he's, look, if he could get Donald Trump to say that he would work with him, maybe, I don't know, maybe there might be a position for RFK in a Trump administration. I don't know what promises might be made, but RFK making, and his running mate making promising noises as if they might be willing to withdraw in exchange for, some consideration. Now, I think it is true that probably RFK Jr. at this point, it will hurt Trump more than it would hurt Kamala Harris. That's not true across the board, but I think on average that is true. Here's another story from Just the News. Kennedy VP Shanahan campaign mulling a withdrawal, Trump endorsement. Basically just a different rewrite of the same thing. And, that'll be interesting to see. Would that be something? Would it have an impact? Yeah, I think it would have an impact because the way I read it right now, well, let me just pull up the numbers from the Real Clear Politics website and see just what he's drawing nationwide. Let's go to polls, and we'll talk about some of these numbers out there. I think it's about 4%. About 4% is what he's getting. And that's, that in a very close election, if you could get your people to say, yeah, we're going to follow your advice, we're going to go wherever you say we should go, 4% could be a game changer in this very tightening election. There is this, I thought this was fascinating, from Scott Rasmussen, who we need to get him on the show. Scott's a good pollster, and he speaks, truth. Rasmussen poll, majority say the Dems could have done better than Kamala Harris. When asked whether Harris is the best possible presidential candidate for the Democrat Party this year, 52% of voters said no, according to a Rasmussen report. Only 39% say the vice president is the best possible presidential candidate for Democrats. Now, that's probably not real surprising. Then what it says to me is that the base believes she's the right choice, and they're going to say that no matter what. But independents and Republicans are saying, no, not so much. 39%. Only 39% said she is the best possible presidential candidate. Democrats turned on the, as you know, on the 81-year-old president after a disastrous debate. Rasmussen reports found that 48% of the voters say the process by which Harris became the Democrat nominee was unfair, including 37% who said it was very unfair. Contrast that with 47% who say the process was fair, including 32% who say it was very fair. So, again, when you look at that number, it really probably should not be surprising that the numbers have tightened up so much, because we really, truly are a 50-50 nation. I mean, it's been tight in every election in recent history. And these margins by which somebody wins are generally pretty thin. And so not a complete surprise that it would be that way. Let me just look at the polls. Latest polls. We have a poll out from Virginia, which, it was looking like Trump was talking as if he might win in Virginia. Right now, Roanoke College poll has Harris leading by 3 in Virginia. Yesterday, we had an insider advantage poll, had Trump up by 1 in Pennsylvania. The national number, here's a national number, Harris up by 4. But there's other polls out there that show that Trump is up by 2, 3, or 4. So, I mean, all of this is well within the margin of error. And I think when you look at numbers, you have to look at polls that are averaged. Right now, the Real Clear Politics average of polls between Trump and Harris has Harris leading by 1.5. That is pretty slim. The 5-way is in the general election, Harris leading by 1.5. Top battleground states, on average, this is averaging all of the battleground polls that are out there, Trump leads by 0.2. Favorability ratings, Harris wins a little bit. Betting odds right now, the Las Vegas odds makers say there is a 51.4% chance that Harris will win. The Electoral College map has not tightened. It's still exactly where it was. Trump would have, if the election were held today, he would pull down probably pretty assuredly 219 Electoral College votes, Harris 208. There are 111 toss-ups available out there to be gotten over the course of 9 different toss-up states. When you look at the Electoral College map, the way that they present it, they are now calling New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan. Those are the toss-up states. Nebraska has an unusual voting way. They divide they divide it by congressional districts. So there's one district out there where it's sort of up for grabs, but rest of Nebraska pretty solidly conservative. So I mean, it has really tightened up. But it's interesting to find that, only 39% of people who were asked the question, do you think she's the best possible candidate for Democrats, believe that she is the best. That's an interesting number. Maybe it tells a little something. 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. Let the Restoration Wellness team help you achieve your weight loss goals. They have helped me. I know they can help you. Restoration Wellness is a leader in weight loss management in Wilson County. Call the Restoration Wellness team today at 615-470-8124 or visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. Now, you're going to meet my friends Carly and Jamie, who are good people who will take care of you, treat you like you're part of the family. You can be part of the more than 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program there. And I'm one of them. And I got to tell you, I am well satisfied with the way things are going for me. I'm down 25, I think almost 26 pounds at this point, which is, I'm completely happy with that. It's been sort of a very easy process. I haven't really had to, do anything except follow their regimen. And I'm telling you, I've never been hungry one day on this plan. Restoration Wellness considers your unique needs, your lifestyle, and your goals. So if your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Learn about the newest things they've got going in weight loss management. Go to their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The Obamas will have the floor tonight at the Democratic National Convention. Donald Trump, he's out on the campaign trail answering claims made at the DNC. And is a Gaza ceasefire deal all but dead? We'll have those stories coming up at 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 57 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Coming up in the next hour, more 2024 news. We'll revisit Biden's farewell speech last night at the Democrat convention, which I watched, so you don't have to. So there's that. Before we leave this hour and head to the newscast, Elon Musk has said for sure that he would be willing to serve in a Trump administration. He shared a photo of himself standing at what appeared to be a podium with the words DOGE. Underneath it were the words Department of Government Efficiency. I am willing to serve, Musk wrote. Oh, I think that would be phenomenal. Putting him in charge of making sure that things run well, and you don't have to blow up any rockets to do it. It's great. 58 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Hey, listen, the folks at Busy Bee, where you need heat or cold AC, you know the number 775-7833. Call them, and they will come running out to your house. They'll buzz right over to your hive. But they've got some specials going on. They call them back-to-school specials. If you find that you are needing a brand-new air conditioning and a whole HVAC system, you can purchase a new high-efficiency unit and register to win what they call the Healthy Hive giveaway. If you win the lottery, you will be able to give $2,000 sponsorship to a local school of your choice, as long as it's within their service area, not out of region or out of state. Another thing, if you become a member of the Beehive Club, it starts at $99. You get 3 inspections on all your systems over the course of a year. That's where it starts. But if you buy one, you'll be able to give a free Beehive membership to a teacher or a member of the faculty or staff of any local school or higher education institution, as long as it once again is within the service area. Must not be out of region or out of state. So there's that. Couple of things going on. By the way, some other big deals that just happen to be going on through the month of August. HVAC service, if you need home and indoor quality air products, they will give you a break of $100 on that. Plumbing services, they have $250 off any kind of water filtration products. I have put that into my home, and I got to tell you, it really has made a change. The water is so tasty, so delicious. I think you'll really, really like that. Listen, here's the number, 615-775-7833. Learn more at busybhvac.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good afternoon. It's 5:01. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Plenty of sunshine, 80 degrees, a forecast and a traffic report coming up. Democrats, they're getting ready to thank former President Barack Obama. He's headlining tonight's events at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. ABC's Mary Alice Parks, she is there.
We're told that he's going to talk about why he thinks Kamala Harris is exactly the right person to lead the party right now, what's at stake for Democrats, what he thinks Democrats need to do to rise to this moment, but also an emphasis, we're told, on values, what the values of this party should be. It's going to be really interesting to see if he leans on any personal stories, any bit of a personal relationship that he might have there with Vice President Harris. Remember, way back when in 2007, she was knocking on doors for Barack Obama before the Iowa caucus.
Meanwhile, former President Trump continuing to counter-program the Democratic convention, this time with a speech in Michigan on crime. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
Trump's appearance in Howell, Michigan was controversial. The small city about an hour outside Detroit was the scene of a white supremacist rally just a month ago. Standing with county sheriff's deputies, Trump said the officers seemed to him to deal with crime in a stern way. He said they might be useful in other parts of Michigan.
I can think of a big one in this state. I'd love to have them working there during the election.
Democrats online quickly flagged that remark as an example of Trump urging voter intimidation in Detroit.
Time is of the essence. That's the word from Secretary of State Antony Blinken, wrapping up his trip to the Middle East today. As the secretary stepped onto his plane in Qatar, he told reporters on the tarmac that the U.S., they want to see a ceasefire and hostage deal sooner rather than later.
Our message is simple, it's clear, and it's urgent. We need to get the ceasefire and hostage agreement over the finish line, and we need to do it now.
The U.S. making it known that they are aware the Russian Defense Ministry has formed 3 military units to defend its border regions, part of its response to Ukraine's advances onto Russian soil. At today's news briefing, Pentagon spokesman Major General Pat Ryder spoke about what's been observed.
We have seen indications of Russia moving, a small number of forces into Kursk. The Kursk region to respond. I would say, generally speaking, though, Russia has really struggled to respond.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. We're kicking off hour number 3 of the drive on this beautiful Tuesday. Beautiful, beautiful weather. Like no weather we've ever seen before. It's great weather. They've never had such great weather. And we're bringing you all kinds of news and information today so that we can keep you apprised of what's going on. And again, I want you to know that tonight, honestly, a lot of things I could be doing, but I will sit down and make a personal sacrifice on your behalf. And Cabana wife has to endure this cry because she sits there and watches TV with me. I'll watch the Democrat National Convention so you don't have to.
That's a big load off.
Honestly,
doing that for us.
Honestly, I know you have some curiosity about what they're saying. You don't want to invest all the time. It's just going to make you mad. And so, trust me, your friend and radio buddy, to go out there and I'll watch the Democrats tonight. And so you don't have to. Just check in tomorrow and I'll tell you everything you need to know about how bad it was. And you won't have to get angry. You won't have to stomp out of the room. You won't have to throw anything at you. I mean, you may actually save yourself a lot of money by doing this. Because, you can get so angry that you just want to throw a brick through the TV. I get that. So I'll save you. This will be a especially good night to take me up on my offer because tonight it's going to be Michelle and Barack and, that whole dog and pony show. It's going to be quite something. So, that's the commitment that because I'm a giver. And I don't want you to have to suffer.
You got your Pepto and your Dramamine ready?
Yeah,
you might need those.
Yeah, I need to drink heavily to get through the evening. That's what I need to do. I want to talk. We've talked a lot about the convention, and we'll come back to some of that stuff that in case you missed it earlier. But I do want to talk about Donald Trump and J.D. Vance out on the campaign trail today because, there was some talk that they were going to sit out until after the Democrat convention and really get after it. And somebody said, you can't do that. And the numbers are really starting to tighten up and, the wind is no longer at your back and you need to get out there and get after it. And they have taken that advice to heart and they've been out there. Trump was in Michigan today and he's standing, with a bunch of people who are police officers, law enforcement types. And he was talking about how, under Democrat policies, we are not safe. He talked about that and also a little information about jobs.
Since Comrade Kamala Harris took office, her administration's crime statistics show she's presided over a 43% increase in violent crime. These are all government numbers. 43% increase in violent crime. I'll bet the people behind me don't have anything like that. It just gets better. It doesn't get worse. Including a 58% increase in rape, 89% increase in aggravated assault, and a 56% increase in robbery. The crime in America, the fact is out of control. I watched last night in amazement as they tried to pretend that everything was great, the crime was great, the border was great, there wasn't a problem at all, no inflation, no nothing. There has been a report that the job numbers over the last period of time were fraudulent, and I understand that because I know how the job numbers go, and if you want to be a bad person in high office, you can be a bad person, but the numbers are going to be revised, that the job numbers were far less, at nobody's ever seen 600,000 to 1 million people less.
Yeah, and that is quite frankly true. And let me just say that here's what I know about that. The United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS, is expected to issue a major revision to employment numbers on Wednesday. The agency is set to announce its preliminary benchmark revision to the 2024 Establishment Survey. Some preliminary estimates and indicators suggest the agency could announce a downward revision of around 1 million jobs between April 23 and March of 24. That would be huge. I mean, to have missed it by 1 million. And this is in the wrong direction, not the good direction, the bad direction. This is people who've lost their jobs. They might have to announce a downward revision of around 1 million jobs. Now, the downward revision of the 1 million jobs would suggest that the U.S. job market and economy are far weaker than the corporate media and Biden-Harris government has said it is. This, according to the National Pulse. Further, the revision will likely fuel additional concerns that the BLS and other agencies under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have essentially cooked the books to the ultimate detriment of the American people. Now, I've always had some suspicion. Look, why would we be shocked, stunned, and amazed that the Bureau of Labor Statistics is different from any other governmental agency? I mean, what do we know about Biden and Harris? They have at every opportunity weaponized the various levers of government. To use them for political purposes. I mean, the Justice Department, the FBI, the Department of Justice, everybody up and down the line, they use the Internal Revenue Service. Everything that they can do to use the levers of government, which are not supposed to get involved in politics, to their advantage, they have done. Why would the Bureau of Labor Statistics be immune from that is my question. And I've never quite trusted these numbers. The numbers didn't feel right to me. I mean, anecdotally, when you talk to people are struggling, right? Then how can the jobless situation be, so much better than it seems to be? Well, it could because they got it wrong or because they purposefully got it wrong. Why would they do that? Well, what they're trying to do, if they're monkeying around with the numbers, and that's an if, but if they are monkeying around with the numbers, as may be suggested, we'll find out more tomorrow, it probably has to do with something along the lines of trying to get the Fed to go along with an interest rate cut. And, they really want to get a cut before the election. Now, as it stands right now, with this information that's out there and that the Fed has been making its decisions on, they're it looks like leaning toward a cut in the interest rates in September just before the election. But once they revise these numbers, they may not feel so good about what's being said. Something may be going on behind the scenes. In other words, somebody may be calling and saying, you know what, your numbers don't add up. There are other ways to double check this, and they just simply do not add up. And maybe they're being forced to be honest. One way or the other, if they downward revise by 1 million jobs, that will perhaps mean that there won't be a rate cut. Now, I sort of want a rate cut. I think we all want a rate cut. We want to see those rates come down. But if you do it too soon, you cause a problem. And there's been noises made today that by some of the people who are, watching this thing very closely, that perhaps the Fed was being a little too optimistic about doing a rate cut early. Some people may not be on board with that. We'll see something more about that tomorrow. Watch that very closely because I think that's pretty good, pretty interesting stuff. Now, J.D. Vance is in Wisconsin. So you got Trump in Michigan, J.D. Vance in Wisconsin, and the questions were raised about the fact that, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are going to be in Milwaukee tonight. They're not going to be at the convention. They're going to be in Milwaukee out there doing an event. And J.D. Vance was asked about that.
Ma'am? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Stephanie Quirk with Fox 6 News in Milwaukee. Kind of going off the DNC, Vice President Kamala Harris is paying a visit to Milwaukee tonight, holding a rally. Do you have any response to that?
No response. Look, Kamala Harris is going to run the campaign that she runs. I would say that I wish that she would do what I'm doing right now, which is talk to the media and actually answer some tough questions. If you think what I'm doing here right now, what am I asking? The question I'm asking is for the fine people gathered to vote for me to be their vice president of the United States. What an awesome responsibility and what an incredible thing that I'm asking them to do. Now, Kamala Harris is going around asking people to be their president of the United States, but she won't answer a single tough question, and she won't interact with the American people unless there's a teleprompter standing between them and her. And I think that's crazy. And I think that what the media has got to start doing is it's got to start saying, look, if Kamala Harris is not going to stand and answer some tough questions, we're going to stop giving her this fake fawning coverage. Demand that she do what any president has had to do, which is answer some tough questions. But look, her argument, I can't get over this, because you watch her rallies, and Kamala's argument is something that I could not stay with a straight face. She stands there and says on day one, she's going to tackle the housing affordability crisis in our country. On day one, she's going to tackle the grocery affordability crisis in our country, and they are crises. Well, Kamala, day one was 3.5 years ago. You've been the vice president for 3.5 years. What the hell have you been doing for all that time? So for the people in Milwaukee who are going to go to her rally or going to listen to what she says, I just asked them, if she has such good ideas for how to bring down the cost of food and groceries and housing, why doesn't she do it now? She's the vice president. Not talk about what she's going to do in 6 months. Do it now, because she's got the power right now.
You know, what I really like about what Vance did in this press conference, because I listened to a bunch of it, is that he gets through making his comments, and then he says, look, I've got the traveling press corps with me, the national press corps, but I want to make sure that I answer the questions of the local press. And so he asked the local press, and then he said, if I have some time left, I'll take some other. He took a bunch of questions, but I mean, the first 3, 4, 5 questions were all from the local press, and they were asking pretty good questions, like this one.
I'd like to know how you were prepping for a debate with Tim Walz, who has described himself as a bad debater. Who's helping you, and how are you prepping?
Well, I found a good friend from back home who embellishes and lies a lot, and I'm having him stand in for Tim Walz. That's what we're doing during our debate. But look, what all kidding aside, what we're going to do is we're going to focus a lot on policy, right? The way that I'm trying to prepare is to try to make sure that we're prepared to answer the American people's questions on how we're going to make their lives better, how we're going to make their communities safer, how we're going to bring back prosperity and low prices to the American economy.
I don't know how the Trump Harris debate is going to go. I mean, you know, it could be. You know, I think Trump is going to really look stronger than she does, because she doesn't answer questions well unless she's reading off a teleprompter, and we'll get a lot of word salad. But the one thing I am pretty sure of is that J.D. Vance is going to wipe up the place with Tim Walz. He's going to destroy him. It's going to be an interesting debate to watch. So there is that. So I think I really like. I just think J.D. Vance is dialed in. He's in the groove. He's hitting all of his events, and they're just very successful. The local press corps is going home with sound bites that will be played on the local news, and they're going to be pretty good sound bites, because he delivers the good sound bite. And so I think he's got it figured out. And I think that Trump is being more disciplined in recent days about sticking to the speech and not riffing as much. So, you know, I see the situation getting, you know, a little better than it was there for a few days, where they seem to be really struggling to find their messaging, you know, after the big change. 21 past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Grace Point Healthcare is a place where you can get affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medical care delivered the old-fashioned way, and that's what you want, right? Listen, if you're got your kids going back to school, maybe they got to get a physical for the sports that they play. Grace Point provides complete physicals for kids of all ages. If you got an international trip or whatever it is, a vacation, a mission trip, whatever it is, Grace Point offers complete travel immunizations and is CDC certified for yellow fever and all other international immunization protocols. And because they will see you the same or the next day, you don't have to wait days or weeks to see a doctor. That's modern medicine at your convenience. What good is having a doctor if they say, yeah, we can get you in next month? And I mean, that happens, doesn't it? Right? No, not at Grace Point. They'll see you the same day or in some cases the next day. They're located on Main Street in Franklin, 615-599-6868 to schedule an appointment.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Negotiations remaining intense for a Gaza ceasefire, but are they making any progress? And a new COVID vaccine is on the horizon to combat new variants. We'll tell you about all this at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. A spectacular day on tap, and I hope that you're getting home safely. Let's be careful out there. Let's, pay attention to the roadway. But while you're driving, let's get you some news that you may not have heard of. Now, big primaries today in Alaska and Wyoming, but perhaps the one that will get the most attention is in Florida. Look, I think I know how this is going to turn out, but Matt Gaetz got challenged in the primary because he and former Speaker Kevin McCarthy have been going at it, as you know, and so Kevin McCarthy took a lot of his PAC money that he had and aimed it directly in the direction of Matt Gaetz. They hate each other. I mean, they absolutely just hate each other. However, it looks like Gaetz is the heavy favorite as he faces Navy veteran Aaron Dimmock in the primary tonight. And so McCarthy had backed Dimmock, and Florida Patriots PAC, a group tied to McCarthy, has spent $3.5 million on ads against Gates, according to the ad tracking firm Ad Impact. The group has run ads referring to the ongoing Ethics Committee investigation into Gates over alleged drug use and sexual misconduct. Gates has criticized the investigation as frivolous. Gates probably will survive this without any issue. The telling sign is that the PAC stopped spending money in the race 3 weeks ago. Now, when you look at the numbers and it's like, we're not going to catch this guy, let's not throw good money after bad. They take the money and put it some other place where it might do some good. And so Gates will likely survive this, but one way or the other. Gates, by the way, got the endorsement of Donald Trump. President Trump said he's a very good person. He's a very capable man. You ever watch this guy on television? Like a machine. He's great. He loves Florida. He loves his country. And that was in an ad, actually. So when you get the endorsement of Donald Trump, that seems to overcome a lot of other advertising aimed at Matt Gaetz. Another news, this is just all over the place. FAA orders inspection of Boeing 787 after a mid-air dive injured more than 50 people. That happened back in March, you may remember. And apparently it has something to do with the cockpit seats, which may need to be reworked. Apparently, they took a big dive because the seat failed in some way and shoved the pilot into the controls of the aircraft. I mean, poor Boeing, they can't get a break on anything here, but that's underway. The value, I wonder how many gold bars there are in Fort Knox, and nobody knows. It's a number that is like top secret. You can't get that number. How many gold bars do you have? Well, here's the thing. Every one of those gold bars is worth $1 million effective today. For the first time ever, a single gold bar is worth $1 million thanks to a surge in prices. Gold bars weighing 400 troy ounces hit the $1 million mark after the price of the precious metal climbed above $2,500 per troy ounce. However, not all gold bars weigh 400 ounces, but some do. The majority of them do. Spot gold was up about 1%. So gold doing quite well on the market. If you happen to have an old gold bar laying around, by the way, they're heavy. I've never held one, but I understand they're really heavy. And it would be basically, if you had a gold bar in your hand, you'd be holding $1 million. Amazing. Wow. I know. Lowe's has cut its full-year outlook and expects weaker home improvement sales. Again, this is one of those things that's sort of one of those bellwether stocks. People look at places like Home Depot and Lowe's, and we had a report on Home Depot, and they were doing the same thing. It cut its full-year forecast as the retailer's quarterly sales declined and projected weak home improvement spending in the second half of the year. People, when they don't spend money on home improvement in their home, it's because they don't have it. And when they don't have it, or if they're pulling in their horns financially, that's not generally a sign that the economy is as strong as we're being led that it is. Again, I think a lot of signs out there suggest that the economy is not doing as well as the Biden administration would have us believe that it is. 30 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock.
Good afternoon. It is 5:30. Well, make that 5:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny now. We're at 79 degrees, starting to cool off a little bit. The forecast and a traffic report are coming up. The Biden administration intensifying its push to end the Israel-Hamas war, but are negotiations really going anywhere? Here's ABC's Shannon Kingston with more.
Before boarding a plane bound for Washington, Secretary of State Antony Blinken wrapped up a diplomatic mission to the Middle East by emphasizing the urgent need for a peace deal in Gaza.
We need to get the ceasefire and hostage agreement over the finish line. and we need to do it now.
But Hamas is still refusing to fully engage in negotiations, while Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is reportedly insisting he won't withdraw troops from strategic areas of Gaza under any circumstances.
New COVID vaccines targeting the latest COVID variants are due out in the fall, and they could be covered by insurance or other programs. Cases have been on the rise this summer, but the vaccines, free since the start of the pandemic, will no longer be reimbursed or covered by the government. Here's ABC's Michelle Franzen with more.
The summer surge of COVID cases, the highest levels in 2 years, is hitting as the CDC free vaccine program is set to end at the end of August due to lack of funding. Dr. Richard Besser is president of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and says it leaves a gap before the updated COVID vaccines are expected.
If you have health insurance, I would recommend that you wait until the new vaccines are out. It should be a matter of weeks before those are widely available, and they should be more effective. If you don't have health insurance, you can look to see, could you qualify for health insurance in your state?
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Listen, if you ever have any land out, do you own some land out in the country somewhere? You've been thinking what you should do with it. Well, why don't you reach out to the guys at Stoltz Co. They build pole barns. Pole barns, and the Stoltz Co. brothers are two guys you really got to talk to. They are known for exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices, and they can build you a new pole barn or a new barn structure to your specifications with your needs in mind. That is the Stoltz Co. difference. I mean, maybe you want to have a barn dominium. Now, think about that. A barn dominium is like a home that sort of looks like a barn. They're very cool. They're very popular, and it might be a nice place, to get away from it all in the weekends. Go out there and sort of commune with nature. Maybe you could want a pole barn that could be used as a garage. Maybe you want to build a pole structure that would be an equestrian space. How about turning it into an event space, just a place to kick back with your friends and to party on the weekends? Whatever you want, they can find it for you. Just do me a favor. Just do me this one little favor. Go to their website, stoltzco.com. That's STOLTZCO, stoltzco.com. Take a look at some of the things they've done for other people, and you'll get it. You'll understand immediately what this is all about, and you'll think, you know what? That piece of property I have out in the country, that would be a perfect place to build a structure like that. Again, the number 615-622-5992. Learn more at stoltzco.com. That's stoltzco.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Chris and I were doing some number crunching during the commercial break, trying to figure out, just how much gold might be in Fort Knox. Now, it's anybody's guess, but the best number we could come up with was 147,300,000 ounces of gold, troy ounces of gold.
Yep.
And so I looked at that and I said, well, okay, troy ounces of gold, and let's just say it's $2,500 an ounce, which it's a little higher than that now. That would come to $368,250 million worth of gold.
Ooh.
Yeah. Wow. 368 trillion. And you said that the number really is like it's 300 million probably total?
Yeah, according to the U.S. Mint, it says only about half of the Treasury's stored gold is kept at Fort Knox. So if there's 147 million ounces there, then that means they probably have another 147 or so million ounces.
That would be $750 trillion in gold.
Wow.
$750 trillion in gold. So, I don't know. Who knows how much they really got? Wouldn't it be funny if we ever got access to Fort Knox? There's nothing there.
They lied to us.
We've been lying to you for years. That's right. We really didn't have that money, that kind of gold.
We used that to pay the rent long time ago.
Yeah. We sold that off a long time ago. Where do you think all those gold rings come from? I don't know. It's interesting. So, look, we're going to get into a little bit more about what we expect tonight. This is Michelle and Barack night. And by the way, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are not even going to be there. They're going to be going to an event in Milwaukee. They're going to leave the convention and go to Milwaukee to do an event because Trump and Vance are out there doing events, and I think they want to answer that. I just think it's sort of interesting that all of the things that are going on at the convention in Chicago are all about Kamala Harris and all about Tim Walz and their campaign, and they're not even going to be there. Off doing some other stuff. Well, anyway, one way or the other, that's interesting, and they don't have to go very far. They're going to Milwaukee, then they're in Chicago, so it's a short trip. One way or the other, we'll bring you some of the information about what's going to happen tonight. Again, you don't have to watch. I will take the hit for you. It's the thing that I want to do. It's the gift that I want to give you. You don't have to watch if you don't want to watch. I'll suffer through. And Cabana wife, by the way, is suffering through with me because she's right there with me while I'm watching. And she's not happy about it. She'd rather be watching, I don't know, one of those horsey shows that she likes.
Horsey?
She likes shows about horses. I don't know. So here we go. A little bit about what Biden had to say last night. He passed the torch, but I got to tell you, he was really angry last night. I mean, really an angry lame duck. That never gets old. It may have been his swan song, but it's more like a duck song. And
that duck's out of tune, man.
That's right. He had a few things to say. This is his big ending, okay? And this is how he sort of ended the whole thing, touting his record for about 3/4 of the speech, turning the corner and passing on the torch, the baton, whatever metaphor you want to use, to Kamala Harris.
America, I gave my best to you.
He gave his best.
I've made a lot of mistakes in my career, but I gave my best to you. For 50 years, like many of you, I've given my heart and soul to our nation. And I've been blessed a million times in return.
Yeah, about 27 million? 27. I said I've been blessed millions of times, 27 million times. That's what apparently his family reaped in their illicit dealings.
The support of the American people. I've either been too young to be in the Senate because I wasn't 30 yet, and too old to stay as president. But I hope you know how grateful I am to all of you. I can honestly say, and I mean this from the bottom, give you my word as a Biden, I can honestly say I'm more optimistic about the future than I was when I was elected as a 29-year-old United States Senator. I mean it. Folks, we just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's nothing we cannot do when we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
That's right. Jack, get out of the way. I mean, they gave him a slot on the first night. By the way, he didn't begin speaking until about 40 minutes past the time he was supposed to speak, and they had him late in the evening. So essentially, they pushed him out of prime time. He finished up the speech. It was well after midnight on the East Coast. That's how late it was. And a lot of people are saying, well, that was by design. They didn't really want to give him a lot of attention. He's viewed by many Americans as a failed president. I don't get that sense. I just think they don't know how to run a convention. And so they said, thank you very much for, all of your service. Now, get the hell out of here, would you please? And he got on Air Force One, went to California, and he's taking some vacation time. Because, it's so hard being president when you're Joe Biden. I mean, he just got back from the beach, right? He just got back from the beach.
Well, not that beach, though.
No, it's a different beach.
Well, that doesn't count, right?
Well, a beach is a beach, for goodness sakes. But he's going to California to chill. I don't know what he's going to do out there, but he's getting out of the way. And honestly, a lot of people are sort of angry about what they did. Look, you got to ask yourself a question about Democrats. And I think it's absolutely a fair thing to ask. If you can't run a convention and keep things on time, on a night when you're supposed to pay homage to the man who is the standard bearer of your party, then how in the hell can you be expected to run a country? I mean, it is emblematic of how chaotic Democrats are when it comes to things like management. They can't run. I mean, like you look at the Republican, and it was like a German train schedule. I mean, those trains rolled in right on the moment they were supposed to be there. I mean, it was spectacular how efficient it was, and how everything stayed on time, and everybody was having a great time, and nobody went over, and they just kept it rolling the whole time. There were never any issues of it dragging and dragging and dragging and dragging. That's because, the Republicans ran a disciplined campaign and a disciplined convention, and the Democrats are running a very undisciplined operation, and it's always been thus. I've attended more than a few of these conventions. Most of the time, those Republican conventions, man, they're just like clockwork. And the Democrat conventions, well, we're running on Clinton time, as we used to say. Running on Clinton time today. So, I mean, very late, very tardy, and really an embarrassment to push him that late. It was so bad. It was so late that they had to tell James Taylor, sweet baby James, I'm sorry, you can't go out. He was supposed to perform You've Got a Friend, apparently one of Joe Biden's favorite songs, before Joe Biden came out. And they just had to go to him and say, I'm sorry, we're having to cut you. I'm sorry, James Taylor, you cannot go out.
They couldn't find 3 minutes for James to come out and sing a song, man.
I know, and it's not that hard. It's a short song. But no James Taylor. James Taylor said, well, you think you're not my friend. You think you ain't got a friend.
You lost a friend.
You lost a friend. Do. All right, so there you go. Again, I mean, really, really, really abhorrently late. And he was angry through most of the speech. I noticed that Brett Baer, this was how that nice Brett Baer over at Fox News sort of summed up the whole speech, the whole shebang, talking about, it was basically angry, lame duck Joe Biden.
President Joe Biden, the 46th president of the United States, wiping a tear away after his daughter's introduction with an extended ovation when he took the stage with cheers of thank you, Joe, from this crowd. Well past prime time, past midnight on the East Coast. He was in this State of the Union speech cadence. And really hitting sort of a yelling tone for a lot of the speech. It came off as almost angry, not full of joy, but he was hitting themes that he's hit before. January 6th, fight for democracy, the threat to democracy, and talking about Charlottesville, how he started his campaign. He obviously passed the torch towards the end of this speech. It took him a long time to get to that passing of the torch, but on the stage now, the new nominee, and it's hard to believe, Martha, that it was just a short time ago that this was going to be his convention.
That really is something to remember. If the things had gone off like they were scheduled to go, this would be his big party. Instead, they give him a Monday night appearance. They shove him late. They hack off James Taylor, and then they get him and they say, now please leave. We don't want you here, reminding people about the failed presidency of Joe Biden. Bye-bye. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you hang around here no more. And so that's it. Now tonight we've got the Obamas. It's Obama night. I think Bill Clinton speaks on Thursday night. I'm not sure what happens tomorrow night, but one way or the other, don't worry about it because I'll cover it for you. I'll make sure you know. Just tune in tomorrow, and I'll be able to fill you in on all the things that you missed, and you won't get heartburn. I mean, you won't get irritated and angry or throw a brick through your TV. Okay, that's the gift that I want to give you. 50 minutes now past the hour. Beacon Capital Management wants you to know that your retirement assets need to be structured in order to minimize taxes. Hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans could be overpaying on taxes in retirement because you can be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, and any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management can give you peace of mind. You know, with the threat of massive tax increases around the corner, potentially around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer to schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good evening. It's exactly 6 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Sunshine, 76 degrees now. A forecast and a traffic report are coming up. Former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama among those due to take the stage tonight at the Democratic National Convention, as well as a former senior Trump administration official. ABC's Karen Travers has the latest.
When Stephanie Grisham steps up to the podium and speaks tonight at the DNC, she'll be doing something she never did when she was the White House press secretary for former President Donald Trump. Grisham never spoke at the podium at the White House. She never held a briefing when she had that job. She was a fierce defender of the president and first lady, also serving as Melania Trump's chief of staff and press secretary. Earlier Tuesday, Grisham wrote on X, quote, "Well, I'm doing a thing tonight," and added the hashtag Republicans for Harris.
Former President Trump continues his counter-programming, if you will, to the Democratic Convention, this time with a speech in Michigan on crime. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
Trump's appearance in Howell, Michigan was controversial. The small city about an hour outside Detroit was the scene of a white supremacist rally just a month ago. Standing with county sheriff's deputies, Trump said the officers seemed to him to deal with crime in a stern way. He said they might be useful in other parts of Michigan.
I can think of a big one in this state. I'd love to have them working there during the election.
Democrats online quickly flagged that remark as an example of Trump urging voter intimidation in Detroit.
Back in 2020, Joe Biden campaigned in that very same city. The FBI announcing a new nationwide campaign called Take a Beat. It's aimed at raising awareness about fraud and scams and to encourage people not to fall for pressure tactics. ABC's M. Yen has more from D.C.
Data from the FBI shows the first 5 months of this year, Americans lost $1.6 billion in scams, saying it's, quote, one of the most devastating violations the FBI worked due to the number of victims and losses. Now, the agency's Criminal Cyber Response and Services branch is rolling out the Take a Beat campaign to share information on signs of scams and how to report them. One of the most common tactics, officials said, is the false sense of urgency scammers will employ. The campaign telling people to resist the pressure to act quickly and assess.
Back here in Tennessee today, the Department of Justice announcing a civil rights investigation into conditions at Trousdale Turner Correctional Center, which is operated by Core Civic. It's the largest correctional facility in the state. The DOJ says their department has found significant justification to open the investigation, including state audits detailing understaffing and safety concerns that have allegedly gone on for years. Leaders say the investigation will dig into whether Tennessee protects the inmates from harm, including violence and sexual abuse. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good evening, everybody. 6 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. It's hour number 4 of The Drive, and we are really cranked up to bring you all kinds of news and information all the way until 7 o'clock. At that point, we'll turn it over to Mark Levin, the great one. He will carry on through the rest of the evening. Of course, look, if you turn on the TV and you turn on the news, a lot of it's going to be about the Democrat National Convention. And look, I know that you've already made up your mind how you're going to vote. By and large, many of you have decided how you're going to vote. And so, you don't really need to watch what the Democrats have to say, but, we still need to know what they're saying so we know how to react to it. We need to know what the other side is doing. So I'm going to watch that for you. It's my gift to you. I will take the hit. I will make the sacrifice on your behalf so that you don't, I'll give you everything you need to know. Just tune in here tomorrow. And you're welcome. Happy to do it. If nothing, I'm a giver. And I give you that gift.
Such a guy. Such a great guy.
I know. Yeah. Just ask my wife. She'll tell you. I'm a giver. Here we go. Some stuff that I want to sort of talk about with regard to this election, because this week it's just about the election. It's hard to find anything else to talk about because all of the reporting that's being done is out of Chicago or on the campaign trail with Trump and Vance. But I think we need to talk about what it really matters, and that is how is the Harris folks, if they win, how are they going to impact our economy? This is an interesting story from CNBC. Trump versus Harris. Here's how the election could affect your taxes. Former U.S. President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris unveiled their economic agendas. Both presidential candidates have called for tax changes that could affect millions of Americans. Taxes will be the key issue for the next president. Without action from Congress, trillions in tax breaks enacted by Trump via the Tax Cut and Jobs Act will expire in 2025. More than 60% of taxpayers could see higher taxes in 2026 without extensions. This according to the Tax Foundation. Expiring provisions include lower federal income tax brackets, higher standard deduction, a bigger child tax credit, and more generous estate and gift tax exemptions, among others. So there's a gulf between the political rhetoric around the 2017 tax law and the political reality that both parties are going to face next year, said Andrew Lautz, Associate Director of the Bipartisan Policy Center of Economic Policy Program. While Democrats have criticized elements of the TCJA, both parties will likely agree to extend trillions in tax cuts, he said, but negotiations could be challenging amid concerns about the federal budget deficit. Extending those tax provisions and subsidized premiums for marketplace health insurance could increase federal deficits by nearly $5 trillion over 10 years, according to the Bipartisan Policy Center. So they think that both sides will not want to raise those taxes. Okay, fair enough. Plans to extend Trump's tax cuts. Trump aims to preserve the individual and business tax cuts enacted via the TCJA. The campaign said in a press release on Monday. He addressed his tax agenda briefly during an event in York, Pennsylvania on Monday, which countered the Democrat National Convention. During that speech, he promised big tax cuts for families and small business. Harris hasn't directly addressed the extensions during her 2024 campaign. Of course, she hasn't really addressed much of anything, but President Joe Biden's top economic advisor, Lael Brainerd, voiced support for partial extensions. Proposed tax increases. Harris' campaign on Monday, listen to this, said she would push to increase the corporate tax rate to 28%. I misspoke earlier, up from 21% is where it is right now, to 28%. The plan would reduce the deficit by $1 trillion over a decade, according to estimates from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. Meanwhile, Trump has called for sweeping tariffs, which are taxes levied on imported goods from another country. Trump's proposed baseline, 10% tariff, 60% levy on Chinese goods, could reduce the average after-tax U.S. household income by roughly $1,800 in 2025. According to the Tax Policy Center. But Trump pushed back on the assertion that tariffs would cost American consumers. It's a tax on a foreign country. So both sides have said that they want to cut the tax on tips. Now, it was Trump first, and then Kamala Harris echoed it, said, well, yeah, I can do that. And then there's a question about whether or not there will be cuts for people on Social Security. I think Trump has called for no taxes on Social Security income. Social Security is a key issue for voters this election, according to CNBC. Harris on Friday shared an economic plan, including an expanded child tax credit worth up to $6,000 in total relief for families with newborn children, among other priorities. So there's a lot of back and forth here about, taxes. But I tell you, when you go from 21% for corporate taxes in one fell swoop to 28% for corporate taxes, guess what will happen? Corporations will not have the money to hire people. Corporations will have to make cutbacks. They'll have to cut back on things that are innovative, growth plans. Business will contract, not expand. And that means that when you start hurting major corporations around the country to that level, you are going to see the economy shrink. It's just the way it works. When I hear her say that, she said, well, they think that corporations are evil, greedy things. They really do. They don't understand that, when a corporation does well, it means that the people who work there do well as well. The corporations do well, then there are more jobs available. When corporations are under stress, there are fewer jobs available. And when you have a job, the economy works great. When people don't have jobs, the economy shrinks. And it's just... It shows that the Democrats have not even a rudimentary understanding of how the economy truly works and how business works. They look at businesses as evil things because, quite frankly, Kamala Harris wouldn't know how to run a business if her life depended upon it. Try to make a payroll sometime. I watched my dad, as a businessman, make a payroll. And, it was something that he was immensely proud of. He had a good company and it made a little money. But along the way, he really helped some people and he was able to make his payroll and people had jobs. And, if you're out there in the business world, you know what it means to make a payroll and how difficult it can be at times. And the one thing you don't need is the government working against you. You need them, working to help you. As business goes, so goes the country. That's always been true. It's still true. The food industry is pushing back against Kamala Harris's price gouging plan. This is the worst idea I've ever heard. She says that she's going to set up, some kind of commission. I don't know how it's going to work, but somebody in federal government will decide how much, a farmer charges for his eggs, how much profit is okay for that farmer to make. I mean, if that's not socialism, I don't know what is. The free enterprise system will take care of it. I'll tell you what, you start coming down on people and saying you're making too much profit, you can't make that much profit, and you start deciding, what the amount of profit should be rather than, letting the free enterprise system work it. I mean, look, if somebody's making too much profit out there, there's always somebody that'll come in and run the same business more efficiently and sell that product for cheaper and take away their market share. That's the way that competition is good. Competition is what makes the world go round. When businesses compete, they have to really cut their profit margins and keep the margins tight. No more than you absolutely have to make make your payroll and to put a little money back for investment and to go forward. I mean, sure. Do you want to pay back your investors? Absolutely. Because they've made a commitment to you and help you get off the ground. But I mean, you don't understand, how this works. You can really find yourself in a death spiral very quickly. So Kamala's idea is we're going to tell you how much you can sell your eggs for. We'll tell you how much your blivets can be sold for. And if you sell it for more than that, then, the government will get involved. Price controls, because she believes that people are gouging. You know what? Who says that Kamala doesn't know what she's talking about? Your friendly neighborhood grocer.
You can't just throw things against the wall and expect everybody to say, oh, that's great. As a grocery store owner, we work on such low margins. It's going to affect us totally. I mean, it won't work for us at all.
No, and it won't work for anybody. And at the end of the day, what you're going to have ultimately is shortages. If a farmer can't make a good amount of profit on their goods after they invest all of the blood, sweat, and tears it is to grow crops or to bring a product to market, a food product to market, if they can't make a decent price on that, you know what they'll stop doing? They'll stop making it altogether, because they can't go in the hole. Better not to spend the money that if you're not going to get a return on your investment. She talks all the time about return on investment. Return on investment. Don't worry. Yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but there'll be a return on your investment. She doesn't understand what return on investment is. It's when people put their money and their blood and their sweat and their effort into creating a product or a good or a service, and they bring it to market, and then all of that, they want to make just enough money that they can get a return on the investment that they've made. If it goes backwards, they go out of business. So they'll quit doing it. Then you get shortages. She's an idiot. She just doesn't understand it at all. Question: is Kamala scared to debate Trump on Fox? The word came down today that Kamala Harris has said that she will not do the Fox News debate on September 4th. I'm not surprised this development because I feel like she's known it was very difficult, said Trump, at best for her to defend her record-setting flip-flopping on absolutely everything she once believed in. According to her statements, there'll be no fracking in Pennsylvania, and her horrible performance on the border, our border czar, where millions of criminals and people from mental institutions and terrorists have been allowed to pour into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. It's called, and she loves it, an open border. Trump with his run-on sentence, but there you go. One way, but she has said no to the debate on September 4th. So there'll be a September 10th debate that'll be on ABC. There's going to be a vice presidential debate that'll be on CBS, and then there was a battle. The first debate was done on CNN, remember, and so now there was a battle between NBC and Fox to get the last debate, and she says she's not going to go on Fox. She's just turned it down, apparently. Sorry. If she can't... Look. Fox News, that nice Brett Baer and Martha McCallum are probably the people who would be doing the debate. I don't know, maybe Shannon Bream. Couldn't be a nicer person on the planet than Shannon Bream. Trust me, she's a sweetheart. But, she'll ask good questions, but she's always been fair on Fox News Sunday when she does it. So if you can't go and face... that tyrant, Brett Baer, or that mean Martha McCallum, or that, I can't even begin to use those kind of adjectives to describe Shannon Bream. She's just too sweet. But I'm telling you, if you can't face those people and answer a few tough questions, then tell me how you're going to face Vladimir Putin. Tell me how you're going to face President Xi of China. Tell me how you're going to be respected and you need to be feared on the world stage. How are you going to do all that if you can't face a few questions? The problem is she doesn't want to answer any questions from anybody. So she wants to get the very best setup she can get and get the most liberal of reporters to go out there and ask. But, I don't know how you're going to avoid asking her questions like, tell me, why you used to believe that fracking was bad, but now you believe that fracking is good. I need to know the answer to that. Tell me why you believe this, but you no longer believe it. There's about a half a dozen things that she has, said she no longer believes in. Tell me how you're going to have all these great ideas to spend money to help people, but how are you going to pay for it? And don't tell me return on investment, because that doesn't even make sense. So she's afraid, and she should be afraid, because when you start to ask her, even moderately difficult questions, she's going to fold like that cheap tan suit she wore last night on the stage. 21 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The victim in what police believe was a targeted shooting in Donaldson on Monday. That victim has been identified. We'll have that story and today's closing money news. That's coming up here at the bottom of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, so it's 25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair all the way till 7 o'clock. Glad you're with us here on this Tuesday night. Listen, the day 2 of the convention, they've got a theme. A bold vision for America's future is where the party is set to outline the choice between Harris and Trump and their outlook on the future. There'll be the official ceremonial roll call that will officially confirm that Kamala Harris is the nominee. No doubt there how that's going to go. She became the nominee really after a virtual roll call earlier this month. It was all done so they wouldn't have a floor fight. And then they started about 5:30 our time today with some of the lesser-known speakers, people who, they got to give them some airtime. They got to give them some chance to get up on the big dais. It's a big thing to get asked to give a speech. It's of course a bigger thing to speak in prime time. So who will speak tonight? Well, although the official schedule has not been officially released, a number of prominent Democrats will speak, including President Barack Obama, who will is set to deliver the keynote address, and the place will just go gaga. They just love Barack. And former First Lady Michelle Obama will probably set him up and tee him off. We will hear something from Doug Emhoff, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and then two extremely liberal members of the United States Senate, Senators Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, expected to speak along with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. So that will all be going on tonight. And again, you don't have to watch. I'm going to take care of it for you. Don't worry. What I'm really worried about is that, you're going to do something rash and damage your TV set. I mean, they just make you spitting mad, don't they? I was talking to some folks this morning over coffee here in Watertown, and I'm saying, I said, I'm just staying up late watching the convention. And he said, I literally cannot watch 1 minute of it. It makes me so angry and so mad. I get it. I completely get it. You know what? One thing I want to leave you with is this thought. There is a Swiss political scientist who has studied the unique dynamics of why incumbents win, and he believes that this surge toward Kamala Harris is a little suspect. He says, and I quote, "I would not be surprised if some voters would be lying to pollsters right now." Dr. Louis Perron, he's the author of Beat the Incumbent, Proven Strategies and Tactics to Win Elections, said it is natural for voters to present themselves as socially or morally acceptable. There is currently quite a media hype about Kamala in the mainstream media, so some voters might not want to admit that they won't vote for her. In recent polls, she got more than 40% among white voters. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'll believe it when I see it in November. He thinks the polls are not accurate, not an accurate reflection of where people are. That then, in fact, some Democrats can't bring themselves to say they're going to vote for Donald Trump, and they will just say they will vote for Kamala, even though it was easier to say you weren't going to vote for Joe Biden. Everybody saw that as a problem. But it's a little harder for Democrats to say they're not going to vote for Kamala. So if you're asked the question, you might say, I'm going to vote for Kamala, even though you really probably won't at the end. There's a common pattern here, he says, with the shy Tory voter and the shy Trump voter. There's a difference between public opinion, what people think, and published opinion, what is published in the media. Some people are hesitant to speak out against the published opinion. So there you have it. Maybe the polls are not accurate, and he doesn't think that there really is maybe some surge, but not the same surge that we've been talking about. About that. It will have much more to talk about after the news. It's 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
Good evening. It's 6:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Still plenty of sunshine, 76 degrees. A traffic report and weather are on the way. Metro Nashville police have now identified the victim who was lured and murdered behind a Donaldson short-term rental property. That man is 20 years old. His name is Xavier Johnson from Clarksville. He was murdered last night on Maple Crest Drive in Donaldson. Metro Police homicide detectives, they're pursuing active leads in the case. Police say they're searching for a man and a woman who lured Mr. Johnson to a short-term rental house and then ambushed him and killed him. No suspects yet are in that case. We now turn to today's closing money news with Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks fell in a Tuesday turnaround. The Dow snapped a 6-day winning streak, closing down 62 points. The S&P lost 11, and the Nasdaq gave up 60, both breaking 8-day winning streaks. Federal Reserve officials have been saying that they're more confident that we've seen the worst of inflation and that rate cuts could be coming. Chair Jerome Powell could shed some light on that in a high-profile speech this coming Friday at the central bank's annual conference in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Thousands of hospitality workers in Las Vegas have reached a tentative contract agreement with 2 major resorts on the Strip. The Culinary Workers Union deal with the Venetian and the Palazzo hotels and casinos is a historic first for employees, and it still must be approved by the rank and file. The terms have not been released, but recent deals for other workers at other Strip casinos included 32% pay raises over 5 years.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It is 37 minutes now past the hour. We're taking it home here now. Just a few more minutes before we end our broadcast day and hand it over to Mark Levin after the news at 7 o'clock. So hang on, everybody. Let's see what we can get through the across the transom in the time we have left. Okay? The Biden Department of Justice has asked the Supreme Court to keep Arizona from requiring proof of citizenship in the 2024 election. Now, why would you do that? I mean, if we all agree that that only U.S. citizens should vote in the election, that people who are not citizens of this country should not be voting in a federal election, then why in the world would they have any problem with the state of Arizona requiring proof of citizenship for the 2024 elections? I mean, either you are a citizen or you are not a citizen, right? The Biden-Harris Department of Justice on Friday requested the U.S. Supreme Court deny Republicans' bid to enforce an Arizona law requiring individuals to prove they're U.S. citizens when registering and voting in elections. Arguing on behalf of the administration, U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar requested that the nation's highest court instead allow a lower court decision, one prohibiting the implementation of provisions of the statute in question, to remain in effect for the November election. As the Federalist previously reported, the 2022 law mandated residents to show documentary proof of citizenship when registering via state voter registration forms. The statute also required such proof for individuals submitting mail-in ballots and voting in presidential contests. The Republican National Committee, Arizona's GOP legislative leadership, filed an emergency application with the Supreme Court on August 8th, asking that the justices place a stay on the lower Ninth Circuit Court's decision and allow the law's requirements to take effect for the 24 election. So this is an important thing. I don't understand why it's an onerous burden to prove you are what you say you are. I mean, we have to do that every day for a lot of things that are a lot less important than that. I once compiled a list of, and I think it was like 150 things that I came up with that required that you prove who you say you are. Yeah, we can't buy, for example, an alcoholic beverage in this country without proving that we're of age, right? I mean, and so we have to show documentary proof. Is that an onerous burden? No, it's not. It's really not. Do you have a Social Security card? That is evidence that you are a U.S. citizen. If you've got a Social Security card, you are a U.S. citizen. I mean, it's pretty simple. You have a passport. You don't get a passport unless you have proven that you're a U.S. citizen. And you know what? When we signed up for those new advanced driver's license, you're supposed to prove that you are a citizen when you get that, and you get a little star on your driver's license, and that means that you are a U.S. citizen. Not that hard, not that difficult, really. But do you have a birth certificate? I don't know where mine is. I have no idea where my birth certificate is. Some parents give their kids their birth certificate. I don't remember ever getting one. Do you know where your birth certificate is, Chris?
I do, but it's only because I had to actually request another one from the county in which I was born.
Yeah, I had to do that at one point. But if I had to lay my hands on that, I couldn't tell you where it is.
Yeah, it's in a file somewhere, I'm sure.
Well, we ended up some file in a home that I used to live in.
I hope not.
Well, I mean, there are still people that live there. I'm just not married to them anymore.
Oh,
those things. Yeah. They got left behind somewhere. I'm sure it's in a safe somewhere, but I don't have it. So I again, here it is: the Biden administration showing their true colors. What they really want to do is they want people who are not citizens of this country, who somehow find a way to get, the right kind of documentation to go vote. And I don't think it's an onerous burden to prove you are who you say you are. I really don't. I never have. And it's, I can't even go out and get a fishing license without proving I am who I say I am. And chances are I'd go through a lot of trouble to do that, and I still wouldn't catch any fish.
That goes without saying. Yeah.
That goes without saying. I never catch fish. Harris gets an 84% positive coverage while avoiding the media. I mean, you hear people talking the talk. Well, she needs to answer questions. She needs to answer questions. Yeah, you know what? Maybe you ought to say that you're not going to give her all this glowing coverage that you've been giving her until she answers a few questions of the press corps. But that's not what's going on. Television networks have provided Vice President Kamala Harris with 84% positive coverage since she joined the presidential race, a Media Research Center study found on Monday, while they produced 89% negative coverage for former President Donald Trump. It's not even close. Somewhere between 71 and 84% of registered Democrats and independents who voted for President Joe Biden in 2020 are mostly in the dark about many of Harris's controversial and very radical positions. We saw this report a few days ago. I mean, you wouldn't believe the number of people who don't know anything about what she really stands for. The establishment media mostly failed to report on Harris's radical record as a U.S. senator, but spent more time speaking about Harris than Trump, the survey also found. For 29 days, media members failed to ask Harris questions about her Soviet-style policies during an unscripted press conference, underscoring the media bias. And that is true. And Trump getting nothing but negative coverage 89% of the time. It's not fair. It's not right. It is the burden that we must overcome. The good news is most Americans don't trust the media. They don't trust the media at all. So, I mean, there's that. It's going to be, I think, when everything is said and done, I think that then the votes are all cast. I don't think we're going to have the answer on election night. People have asked me this question. What do you think it's going to be like? I think it's going to be days before we get the final answers. I mean, if these numbers are anywhere close to accurate, it's going to be a pretty tight race. And they're going to be challenges, and they're going to be legal challenges, and lawyers are going to get involved. And, anytime lawyers get involved, things get dragged out. This is a little story that I thought you might find interesting. From Newsmax, Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign has compiled a massive legal team in anticipation of a close election that could include certification fights and accusations of voter fraud. Harris, the Democrat nominee, will oppose former President Donald Trump, the Republican nominee, in November. Senior legal team will oversee hundreds of lawyers and thousands of volunteers in a sprawling operation for the Harris-Waltz campaign, the New York Times has reported. Harris advisors claim the legal team is about 10 times the size of President Joe Biden's 2020 legal operation. Among the lawyers hired, Mark Elias, who played a role in the Russian collusion hoax, which sought to undermine the results of the 2016 presidential election. Elias was behind the hire of Fusion GPS, which employed the author of the discredited Steele dossier, the basis for the FBI's surveillance of Trump foreign policy aides. Bob Bauer, who served as a longtime personal counsel to Biden, and Dana Remus, general counsel to the Biden campaign in 2020, will head the Harris-Waltz legal team. Top lawyers at 3 prominent law firms will handle litigation and deploy local counsel to 8 battleground states and 4 other states of interest. That'd be 12 states. Real Clear Politics says there are 11 battleground states. Remus told The Times in a statement that the legal team has been working uninterrupted over the last 4 years, building strategic plans in key states, adding more talent and capacity, and preparing for all possible scenarios. Big, major, honking Democrat law firms around the country will give their top legal talent time off to go and do this. Pro bono. No charge. I mean, there'll be some lawyers that are getting paid by the campaign, but I'm telling you, a lot of the legal talent will come from major law firms in major cities, very liberal lawyers who will go out there, and these people are good. Now, the question is, how good will our legal team be? We read a story the other day that said that Trump was going to put a lot more people out there. We were going to have a lot more people as poll watchers, etc. But what about the legal battle? Are we prepared to do that? Again, I don't think it's going to be decided on election night. I'll be shocked if it's all decided and everybody decides, okay, yes, there is a clear winner and the other side concedes. Can you imagine that happening, given what we've all gone through? I don't think that's going to happen. Kamala Harris imposes new COVID-19 vaccine mandates for all campaign employees. Of course she did. Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign has announced plans to impose COVID-19 vaccination mandates on their staff as defined by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Staffers who are not up to date on vaccines risk losing their jobs. The Harris for President campaign official job listing states that they must be up to date on COVID-19 vaccination status as prescribed by the CDC as a condition of employment, unless otherwise prohibited by actual law. So in addition to all of those pronouns that you have to decide, the who and all the other stuff, Hugh, I guess it is, you have to decide what your pronoun is, and you have to give proof of vaccination. The campaign's new demands also imply that staff needs to receive an additional dose when the 24-25 vaccines are released. I haven't done anything beyond the original vaccination that I did, and I'm not sure even now that was the right thing to do. But I did it. Harris has received at least 4 COVID-19 vaccinations. She tested positive for COVID-19 before beginning a course of Pfizer's antiviral treatment, Axios reported. So anyway, of course they're going to oppose that. Harley Davidson the motorcycle company has dropped diversity efforts after online pressure. Harley Davidson is dropping some of its diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, according to a statement released Monday on its social media platform. The motorcycle company said it stopped consulting the Human Rights Campaign's metric for treatment of LGBTQ plus employees, and that sponsorship decisions will now be determined by the company and foundation, which will focus on retaining our loyal riding community. We do not have a DEI function today. And Harley Davidson has not since April, according to the statement. They were getting a lot of blowback from people saying, "You what? Harley Davidson? All the represent, when you think Harley Davidson, you tough biker people, you had a DEI program? Well, not anymore." 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Hey, folks, did you know that gold was up 78% over the last 5 years, silver up 99% in the same time period? Meanwhile, the U.S. dollar has lost 25% of its value since 2020. The government-induced inflation is stealing your wealth, and it doesn't seem that Washington, D.C. has any plan to stop. Gold and other precious metals are a great shield against inflation theft. And during an election year, the politicians will promise they'll rein in their spending, but you know how that goes. It's campaign talk. They just can't help themselves. That's why no matter who is in office, gold protects you from the D.C. spending sprees. And where do you go to get that protection? Well, you need to reach out to my friends, Kyle and Hannah at Nashville Gold & Coin. They'll take great care of you and keep you well informed on all precious metal opportunities. So please act now and get your shield against out-of-control government spending. Just go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. Again, NashvilleGoldandCoin.com to set up your appointment today.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.